Is there a perfect diet for building muscle or losing fat? The truth is, it depends on your goals, lifestyle, preferences. Today, we're breaking down how different diets impact body composition and how to choose the right one for you. From Wits and Weights, I'm Philip Pate. Happy Friday, and this is Nutrition Science Daily, bringing you the latest in nutrition, fat loss, and health science, all in under 5 minutes. Now, when it comes to body composition, that's how much fat and muscle you have. Your diet plays a massive role in determining whether you build muscle, lose fat, or stay stuck where you are, or maybe deliberately where you are if you want to be. But if you've ever wondered why one person swears by the keto diet and another loves their high-carb diet, you're not alone. Let's explore how various diets impact body composition and how to find the approach that works for you. At its core, body composition comes down to energy balance and macros or macronutrients. Those are the big pillars. Energy balance is the relationship between calories in, what you eat, and calories out, what you burn. So to lose fat, you need a calorie deficit. To build muscle, you need a calorie surplus. Sounds simple, right? We always want to oversimplify it in that, but it does get a lot more nuanced and interesting because that brings us to macronutrients. Protein, carbs, and fats determine how your body uses those calories. And protein is the key player for muscle repair and growth, while carbs fuel your workouts and replenish that glycogen that you lose, and then fats support your hormones and overall health. So in that context, without making it any more complicated, let's look at how popular diets stack up. So we have, I'm going to call them flexible high protein diets. So this is the kind that I subscribe to and promote. A flexible diet where you're trying to optimize body composition. It is anchored on protein. You're trying to get at least 0.7 grams per pound of body weight up to 1. You're going to preserve your muscle during fat loss, promote, muscle building during a surplus, and the rest of your diet is completely flexible. And notice I didn't even tell you what to eat. Just make sure you get your protein, and then make sure you think about your calories and macros based on what you need to perform your best and to build that muscle, period. Super flexible approach. Go follow my other podcast, Wits and Weights, where that is almost all we talk about the vast majority of the time. All right, then we have the low carb or keto diets. This is another massive popular category, and they can be effective for, I'll say, weight loss and maybe fat loss, especially if you prefer a lot of fat in your diet. The problem is you don't have enough carbs, so your performance in the gym is probably going to suffer. Outside of a dieting phase, when you're just trying to maintain or build, you're probably going to feel held behind, let alone the restrictive aspect of the diet in that you're cutting out a whole bunch of things that you then might regret and want to binge at some point. So it is far less flexible. It's far more rigid. It can be helpful for some people to cut out a bunch of foods so that you lower the calories. Then we have plant-based diets, and these focus on whole, minimally processed, plant-based foods, not animal foods, which is, some people would argue, is better correlated with health markers. And there's some truth to that, but actually we found that people who have an overall whole food-based diet, period, even if it includes plant sources, are super healthy if they live a healthy lifestyle. Now, if you're vegan or vegetarian, you're going to have to plan very carefully to hit protein and get the right mix of nutrients in there. Make sure you're not malnutrition. I forget the term I'm trying to say, but that you have enough nutrients. But it's easy to do that once you figure out the foods that are available: tofu, tempeh, legumes, those kinds of things. But again, you are cutting out animal products, so it just makes it a little bit more difficult, and it's restrictive in that sense. If it's a values-based thing, I totally understand. If it's purely for health, I would question it and consider opening up to a more omnivorous diet. And that brings us to, and by the way, the opposite of that would be the carnivore diet, which it's just the other side of the same coin. Very restrictive, very limiting. You might have some malnutrition because of what you're lacking. You don't have fiber, et cetera, et cetera. So be careful with those. And then intermittent fasting, it's more about meal timing. It doesn't dictate what you eat, but when you eat. And it could be a tool for controlling appetite and creating a deficit, but it's no more superior than any other type of feeding window, because at the end of the day, what matters is your calories and macros, your energy balance and your macros. So how do you choose the best approach to you? What's your primary goal? Are you focused on fat loss, muscle gain, maintenance? What does your lifestyle look like? Do you prefer smaller meals more often, larger meals less frequently? Do you have dietary restrictions, cultural, value-based preferences? And so based on that, you can choose one of the diets. And then you want to track your progress. Use, food tracking, use body circumference measurements, your weight, photos. Definitely my favorite food tracking app that also calculates your metabolism and gives you accurate targets each week. It's called MacroFactor, and that will help you see how your diet affects your weight trend and your body composition over time. There is no single perfect diet is really the whole point. It's the one that helps you stick to your goals consistently, and the more flexible approach tends to be the one that does that. All right, but I would encourage you to experiment and iterate. If you want to try keto, if you want to try plant-based, I'm not stopping you. Go for it. Start with that approach. See how you feel, track your biofeedback, track everything that happens. Make sure it's sustainable, that you can live this way for the rest of your life. If you can't cut out carbs for the rest of your life, don't start with a diet that cuts out carbs, period. But, figuring this out and adjusting, that's all part of the process. So to recap today's episode, energy balance and macros are what drive body composition changes, but the best diet is going to depend on your goals, lifestyle, and preferences. High protein diets are a great baseline, and flexibility is key. All right, so for a deeper dive into personalized nutrition strategies, everything about nutrition, how to calculate it, how to calculate your macros, how to, monitor your metabolism and understand why it changes. Listen to and follow the Wits and Weights podcast. I cover protein timing, managing dietary flexibility, everything over there. And then text this episode to someone who might be struggling to find the right diet and they want a sustainable approach. That is it for this week on Nutrition Science Daily. Please hit follow to get fresh episodes on Monday. And until then, have a fantastic weekend.